of America and the OAS, and our featured speaker, Your Excellency Steve Farrell, Secretary to the Cabinet, and Mrs. Farrell, Chief Personnel Officer, Ms. Cecilia Carr, other permanent secretaries, heads of departments, Mr. Oral Laura, Senior Prison Officer, who will be saying the prayer for us today, other invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. I will now call on Mr. Oral Laura to deliver the prayer.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Soldiers are not only men and women who bear arms in times of war, but men and women who has arms and use them to work diligently. Look at the ants. They work together using their arms to accomplish great feats. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 7 to 10, the Apostle Paul reminds us, no soldier ever serves in the army and pays his own salary. No one ever plants a vineyard without eating some of the grapes. No person takes care of a flock without drinking some of the milk. Paul said, I do not say that by human authority. God's law also says the same thing. It is written in the law of Moses, when an ox is working in the grain, do not cover the mouth to keep it from eating. When God says this, what was he thinking only about oxen? No, he was really talking about us. Yes, the scriptures was written for us because it goes on to say, the one who plows and the one who works in the vineyard should hope to get some of the grain for their work. Let's all stand together, please, as we pray, as we reverence the most holy and righteous King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Heavenly Father, we are thankful to you that you are the only wise, true, and living God. We thank you that you are the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and forever you shall reign. We thank you for the opportunity for this day that you have made. We are rejoicing. We are glad to be alive and well. We thank you that we can celebrate together in the presence of our most esteemed men and women of Dominica. We pray for our president. We pray for our prime minister. We pray for our ministers of government. We pray for our public servants who have labored and toiled and worked hard to achieve this great feat of being here today. As we honor them, Lord God, we thank you that your Spirit will be the one who guides and guards this ceremony. We pray, Lord God, that as it continues, that everything that is said here, that is done here, will be to the praise and glory of your great name. As we are building a resilient public service, we thank you, Lord God, that you are the one who gives us wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and the wherewithal that we need and we require to do what is truly building a resilient public service. Help us not to only build the service by what we say, but help us to join our hearts, our hands, our voices, our arms, our hands, our entire bodies to work diligently in developing this beautiful island state of the Commonwealth of Dominica. We ask you for your total and complete guidance and blessings on this entire proceedings. This we ask with thanksgiving in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, our King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Amen. Bless you.
Amen. We will now call on Ms. Cecilia Carr, the Chief Personnel Officer, to deliver the welcome remarks for our Excellence in the Public Service Awards and Recognition Ceremony 2018.
Good morning, everybody. His Excellency, the President, Charles A. Safre and Mrs. Safre, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Reginald Austri, sitting in for the PM, Honorable Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Featured Speaker, Ambassador Vince Henderson, His Excellency, Honorable Ministers of Government, members of the Diplomatic Corps, senior public officers, permanent secretaries, Ambassador to Dominica of the OAS, His Excellency Farrell, Secretary to Cabinet, and Mrs. Farrell, other dignitaries, invited guests, retirees, serving public officers, members of the media, good morning. It is for me this morning a special honor to welcome you to this Public Service Rewards and Recognition Ceremony held under the theme, Building a Resilient Public Service or Collective Response. This is an occasion where every year we publicly recognize the outstanding contributions of serving public officers as well as those of our many officers who are retired. We also set aside a quiet moment to reflect on our colleagues and friends who served among us but have passed on. And at this time, we know there are a number of public officers who served diligently and otherwise and have passed on during the period 2016-2018, and now we'd like to stand for a few seconds to honor their memory. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Public Service Day began in 1999 with several activities such as an exhibition, a national seminar, an ecumenical service, and of course, the grand finale, the rewards and recognition ceremony. Thereafter, the day was celebrated on the first day of December and was done every year until 2006. Presently, the celebration takes place every 2 years and has remarkably improved to include activities that foster camaraderie and encourage togetherness. These things include educational talks, hikes, sports day, talent night, and more recently, an excursion to Martinique, an eat fish night, and entertainment Fridays. This year marks 19 years of existence, growth, and sustainability, and it is testimony to our resilience as a public service institution. The Excellence in Public Service Awards is a signature event and underscores the importance of rewards and recognition. Rewards and recognition, though often seen together, are not the same, but two distinct human resource practices that, when used together, have the effect of motivating and sustaining organizational cultures that are healthy and productive. It is of paramount importance that public officers be rewarded and recognized for their contributions towards national development. Human resource theorists agree that doing so will not only increase productivity, but will go a long way in helping the organization to achieve its vision and goals. In light of this, the Excellence in the Public Service Awards and Recognition was established to achieve the following objectives. 1, to nobly reward outstanding officers for their dedication and hard work, to recognize the talent and contribution of outstanding officers, to encourage all officers to improve the quality of work and to maintain high levels of performance, to enhance employee satisfaction and to create a sense of value, to encourage replication and sustainability of exemplary behavior, to promote the core values of excellence, productivity, and professionalism. This year's Public Service Day hails the theme, Building a Resilient Public Service, a Collective Response, and is synchronized to the national vision of building a climate-resilient nation. In our quest to achieve this, process maps have been developed and safeguards against loss of institutional memory. Manuals, processes, and systems are being reviewed with the objective of knowledge documentation and management. There is still a lot to be done, but today is the day that we set aside a moment to say thank you to our public officers and to appreciate them for their hard work and dedication. With these few words, I want to welcome one and all, the Excellencies, Honorable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Ministers of Government, members of the Diplomatic Corps, friends of the public service, employees all. Congratulations to all those who will be receiving awards today, and happy retirement to all the retirees. God bless you, and God bless the Dominica Public Service. Thank you.
I will now call on Mrs. Sylvani Burton, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign and the CARICOM Affairs, to deliver the introduction of our keynote speaker.
Good morning to all. His Excellency the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Mr. Charles A. Savre and Mrs. Savre, Honorable Reginald Austri, Deputy Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica and Minister for Agriculture and Water Resource Management, Honorable Members of Cabinet, His Excellency Vince Henderson, Ambassador of Dominica to the United States of America and the OAS, Your Excellency Steve Farrell, Secretary to the Cabinet, and Mrs. Farrell, Ms. Cecilia Carr, Chief Personnel Officer Acting, Ms. Joanne Commodore, Chairperson of this event, other Permanent Secretaries, Heads of Departments, Mr. Oral Laura, Senior Prison Officer Acting, awardees and retirees of the public service, public officers, other invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency Dr. Vince Henderson is the Ambassador of the Commonwealth of Dominica to the United States and the Permanent Representative to the Organization of American States in Washington, D.C. since September 2016. Prior to that, he served as the Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Commonwealth of Dominica to the United Nations in New York for 6 years. He is a founding member of SIDSDOC, an international organization of small island states dedicated to sustainable energy development, and currently serves as the chairman of its executive council. He has been at the head of the organization since 2011. From 2010 to 2017, he served as the chairman of the Government of Dominica Geothermal Negotiations Team and is currently senior advisor to the government on geothermal energy development. Dr. Henderson also serves as an energy advisor to CARICOM on the implementation of the Caribbean Renewable Energy Roadmap and Strategy, and in particular through its implementation through the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, CICRE, located in Barbados. He is a co-founder of the CICRE and served on its steering committee from 2015 to 2018 and now serves as the first chairman of its executive board. He was elected to the Parliament of the Commonwealth of Dominica, representing the St. Joseph constituency for 2 consecutive terms in 2000 and 2005. During that time, he also served as Minister for Housing and Physical Planning, Agriculture and the Environment, Education, Human Resource Development, Sports and Youth Affairs, and Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Labor. Prior to his political career, he worked as a high school science teacher and served as deputy principal of the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School in St. Joseph, Dominica, at the age of 25. He holds a Doctor of Law and Policy degree from Northeastern University, Boston, Massachusetts, USA. He also holds a LLM Master of Laws degree from Truro Law School in New York, an LLB honors from Huddersfield University in the United Kingdom, a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Science from American College for Computer and Information Sciences, now American Sentinel University, and a Diploma of Education from New York State University, New Mexico, USA. Dr. Henderson has been a facilitator, presenter, and chairman at several regional, hemispheric, and international summits, conferences, workshops, and meetings in his area of expertise. SIDS-DOC Caribbean Meeting, St. Lucia, 2012, chairman. Renewable Energy Law and Policy in Small States. Among them, Pacific Energy Summit, Auckland, New Zealand, 2013, panelists. SIDS-DOC Pacific Meeting 2013, chairman. SIDS-DOC Africa Meeting, Cape Verde, chairman. International Renewable Energy Agency Assembly, IRENA, Abu Dhabi, UAE, 2014, 2016, 2018, presenter. Vienna Energy Forum, Vienna, Austria, 2015 and 2018, presenter. CARILEC Conference, Dominican Republic, 2015, keynote speaker. World Bank International Geothermal Conference, Ireland, 2016, presenter. World Bank Geothermal Conference, Latin America and the Caribbean, Nicaragua, 2016, keynote speaker. Panelist, Mexico City, 2017. Caribbean Renewable Energy Forum, Miami, Florida, USA, 2016, presenter and panelist in 2018. UN Oceans Conference, SIDS event, New York, USA, 2017, chairman. Renewable Energy Network, Berlin, Germany, 2018, motivational speaker. Caribbean Renewable Energy Forum, Belize, 2018, presenter. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you this morning our keynote speaker, His Excellency, Dr. Vince Henderson.
Thank you very much, Madam PS. And first of all, let me apologize for that bio. It was actually for a renewable energy conference. It wasn't meant for public service. And I suspect, by the way things are going, maybe I should just resort to doing that for a living. So, Your Excellency, His Excellency Charles Angelo Sovereign and Mrs. Sovereign, Honorable Reginald Austri, Deputy Prime Minister, other members of Cabinet, members of Parliament, senior member for the Roseau North constituency, former members of Parliament, permanent secretaries, heads of departments, awardees, retirees, distinguished ladies and gentlemen here and those listening via the media. A nation is not built upon bricks and mortar or even steel, but rather nations are built by the dedication, the perseverance, and the ingenuity of its people. It is the people who make a nation. I want to thank CPO, Ms. Carr, and her colleagues of the organizing committee for the kind invitation. And I wish to commend all of you today, public officers who are celebrating such an important day. And especially to recognize those who are being awarded for their service to all of us in Dominica. I want to take the opportunity to also thank you for your response to the impact of Hurricane Maria. I remember seeing so many of you who went above and beyond the call of duty, who sacrificed day and night. And some people may never know how hard you work. But I also want to go back a little to recognize your commitment to Dominica during a very difficult period. And some of us may wish to forget the austerity program with the IMF. That was sacrificed. And I want to thank you for that. But before I go into my contribution this morning, I was admonished by a friend, don't go in this people thing and say anything controversial. You know you already. And I responded simply by saying, I promise I am going to be professorial. You'll be the judge of that by the time I'm done. So, here I go. Building resilience. I like your theme this year. But one of the problems with themes is that people give you their theme, but they don't give you the definition of their theme or the interpretation as they see it. So you have, I guess, a literary license to go ahead and put your own definition. So I will attempt to do that this morning. So perhaps I should start by taking a stab at the use of the words contained in your theme. Some say resilience, and others say resiliency. But I always prefer resilience. I find it has a nicer ring to it. But that is just my personal preference. But I also like to be careful about using words. I don't use a lot of big words, but I always like to define words before I go on to talk about them. Because words have meaning, and unless we can all agree to a common definition, we get ambiguity, lack of precision, and ultimately confusion. And that could negatively impact on whether we felt we have met our goal. To know what is success, one needs to define success before going on the mission, and therefore this is why it's very important to define what we mean. So let's begin by defining what is resilience. Then we will talk about what is public service and get a sense as what do we mean when we say a collective. And finally, what we mean by a collective response to building resilience in the public service. There are various textbook definitions of resilience, and especially those of us in the climate change debates, we have long ago placed our definition for resilience. But in our context, I think resilience is the ability of a system, an organism, a collective or a thing to regenerate, to respond, to recover in a timely manner to the impact of changing environment with debilitating or detrimental effect on the survival or prosperity of that thing, of that organism, or that collective. That's my own definition. Public service, broadly defined, includes public goods and services delivered by government to citizens, residents, and visitors within a state, municipality, a county, or in our case, a village. This includes healthcare, education, communications, road bridges, in some places tunnels, security. But unique to the public service is the fact that only the government can deliver certain goods and services. Only the government. And that is what makes your work so important. Because I could buy a Flow SIM card or go to Digicel and get another one if I don't like the service. But there's only one public service. I can only get my passport in one place. And if the state is not delivering a service, it also has the responsibility to regulate it. So you may choose to put your child in a private school, but the state has to regulate education. And therefore, the role of government and public officers, people say servants, is so important because our clientele cannot go somewhere else. This is why we must take this as a special responsibility and continue to be dedicated to it. The collective, this one is simple. It's just a group of people, I guess, perhaps connected or related units that exist at any time, and that you could call a collective. In this case, we come together to deliver public goods and services. And perhaps sometime, we don't have time now, but we should really define what public goods are, because I think it is something that we need to spend some more time on in order to deliver more effectively and efficiently. So let me attempt to bring meaning to your theme, and I hope I won't be too far off the mark. Building resilience, building a resilient public service, a collective response. This means working together as functioning related units to ensure that we deliver and continue to deliver quality public goods and services efficiently and effectively in spite of internal or external challenges. And when impacted by events, slow onset or catastrophic events like Hurricane Maria, we can withstand their impacts to recover quickly. That is my definition or my interpretation of your theme. And therefore, in order to build that resilience, and again, this is where I have to tread cautiously. In other words, building resilience means eliminating, where possible, and reducing impacts of major events. But again, these are nice words thrown together, elegantly, I must add. I really love your theme. But the question is, how do we achieve this lofty goal that we have set for ourselves? How do we build resilience, a resilient public service? But I will tell you, you cannot build resilience in a system that is dysfunctional. You cannot build resilience in a system that is outdated. You cannot build resilience in a system that does not serve its clientele. So before we seek to build resilience, we must ensure that our system is relevant, it is effective, and it can reach out to the people for whom it was designed. So in other words, we do not offer public service for the sake of it, but because we exist to improve the lives of our people. First of all, so I will move to explain a little how I feel that we can improve our system to make it more resilient. We need to continuously review what we do. And this is why some people used to complain about public service reform. Remember that? It's always reforming. Of course it must always reform. Things change so rapidly that you must continue to re-examine what you do in order to be effective and efficient. The use of technology, utilizing the proper skills, the proper structure, organizational structure. Do you still need certain departments of government? These are questions we need to ask ourselves. Should we be creating new departments of government? Are certain positions redundant because of the changing times? So, I will seek to offer my own ideas as to how I think we can move on. First of all, I believe we must ensure that the role of the public service is well defined. And how do we define that? We define it by first looking to our Constitution, our laws, regulations, all sorts of legislation that govern what we do. But we must also seek to look at the changing world around us, locally, regionally, and internationally, and recognize what is happening and what the trends are. But The definition of public service is all defined by those we elect, those who represent us. And whether we like it or not, that is what democracy is about. Because sometimes I go to certain places, I hear people talk about democracy. But when they don't like the outcome, they seem to have a problem with democracy. So that is the reality. And this is how we define what it is that we do. Secondly, our public service must continually reform itself to be relevant, to be effective and efficient, to deliver quality public goods and services, utilizing appropriate organizational structures. And I have some of in my head, there are some departments of government that I would really like to seriously examine in terms of the organizational structures to see how effective they are. We need to look at the systems, and we need to look at qualified personnel and technology. What are the requirements to be in that position, for example? But thirdly, we must plan at the micro and macro levels. And you know the old saying, I had an old Scout commissioner who would love to say that. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And therefore, we must plan. But that plan should not be the simple run-of-the-mill planning of programs and projects. We need to take time out to identify our strategic objectives. What is it that we want to achieve? What are the big goals, the big ideas that we want for our divisions, our departments, ministries, and for the country? We need to be able to define those things and set those targets. Get those big strategic goals and start working towards them. Our strategic plans must include the re-examination of our vision, our mission, our strategic priorities, strategic activities, goals, and key performance indicators. And that is the biggest challenge that we have, the KPIs. How do we know we're doing what we said we set out to do? If we have no system to track, to monitor, to evaluate, how do we know that we're meeting our goals? And the biggest one for all of us, how do we know our ministries are in fact meeting the mandate when we don't get any feedback from people? If there's no system of feedback, how do you know? I mean, well, I don't know how good I perform when I deliver by saying, boy, yeah, that was good. I wait for the next invitation. That is how I know if I made any sense. I don't listen to some guys either because they always tell you good. The fourth component that I would like to speak to is the enhancement of our system of monitoring, evaluation, rewards, and more outcome-driven, to be more outcome-driven. And I think one of the areas that we should focus on, and Miska, I don't want to throw this on you. I'm not here to make recommendations, but to just share my ideas. We need a feedback mechanism. People need to be able to tell us where we are at any given time. And one of the areas, the minister is not there, so I can take a chance. One of the areas that I have always looked to is accident and emergency. How do we know that we are delivering quality service there? Do we have a turnaround time? Do we have a target? When you go casualty now, how long it takes you to come out? I'm not saying when you vex that you go and do your business, you know. How long it takes you to get service? Do we have a triage system that makes sense? You come in, you okay? You can stay there a little while. You look like you're about to pass out on me? Come. Do we have such systems? How do we know how effective we are? You know, right now in every airport in the United States, when you pass security, you see the little buttons, the smile, like the emoji, the smile, the vex face, the okay face. I like to punch them because I like data, because when you research, you realize the importance of data. And they do this because they want to know how well they're doing. So every time they make me take out everything I have in my bag, I always press the vex face. But they use that as data to drive the service that they provide. And perhaps it's an opportunity for us, in building that resilience that we talk about, to look at how we deliver the services and whether people are, in fact, being served the way they ought to be. Like I said, most of the time, we don't have anywhere else to go. But in order to do that, we need to make some investments. And one of the things we as a Caribbean people, we don't like research and development. And when you start talking about research, people just think all you fellas only go too much school, or you always have ideas, or you're just wasting people's time. But you need that in order to know what to do to make things work. But it would be remiss of me to discuss building resilience without talking about building resilience to climate change throughout the country. After all, it is us, the public servants, and I say us because I am a public servant, not under the definition that some of you, and I remember the Charles A. Sovereign versus, I can't remember who it was, define what that is. So I'm not really truly a public servant. I am a public servant because I give service to the public. I consider that. But it is also have to deliver, to help to create a resilient Dominica, and to continue to implement the articulation of the Prime Minister as making Dominica the first resilient nation in the world. And therefore, we have to understand what that means. The creation of the Climate Resilience Executing Agency of Dominica, the CREAD, creates a platform to pursue and achieve our national mission. This mission is tantamount to building a new Dominica. We have to really rethink how we do development. So effectively, we're building a new Dominica, and we have to be committed to that. That new Dominica we're building is for current and future generations. It requires a collective response. All of us, sons and daughters of the Isle Beyond Compare, we must come forward to help build that new Dominica. Without seeking to preempt the outcome of the agencies and ministries who will be embarking on creating a resilient Dominica, I wish to put forward some of my own observations on building a resilient Dominica. First of all, whatever we pursue must be based on science, research, and development to determine what works and what is applicable in our circumstances. This should be applied across sectors and ministries. Physical planning, for example. Fortunately, we recently approved the National Physical Development Plan pursuant to the Physical Development and Planning Act of 2002. But that now has to be augmented by putting in place the resilience factor, identifying where and how to build, but also to add upon that an additional layer of creating sort of a spatial map to identify vulnerabilities, not just physical vulnerabilities, social vulnerabilities, knowing where the people who have particular health conditions are, knowing where they live, being able to identify economic vulnerabilities by age, by gender, circumstances, economic circumstances, the nature of the jobs that people do. We need to have that data readily available so in the event that we get hit by any major event, we can respond accordingly. We saw that after Maria. We just had blanket response, not targeted, because you don't have that level of data. But if you had that at a central location, you know how to prioritize your response. Having learned from the recent impact, of course, of Hurricane Maria has given us great learning that we can apply. Agriculture. How do we build a resilient agriculture? We talk about sustainable agriculture for decades. But how do we do that? How do we select the right crops in the advent of climate change and the impact of those events? Technology, introducing the right technology. What about crop insurance? How do we create a special insurance facility for farmers? I mean, these are the kinds of things that we need to start. We need to expand the debate around these things. Education. And yesterday I had a very interesting discussion with some of my friends from the Ministry of Education and also former education officers. And we're talking about curriculum reform. I mean, where are we? We did it in 2007. I haven't heard much talk about revising the curriculum. Prime Minister has made it clear that there are certain priorities that he thinks the state should have in education. So that process needs to unfold. But we need to include in that new curriculum resilience as a topic, as a subject. What about hurricane preparedness? I didn't learn that in school. I remember I went to Costa Rica as a Boy Scout for training, and I remember we were in a building, and all of a sudden I saw people under the doorway, going in certain areas, because I felt the place started shaking. I didn't realize it was some earthquake, tremor thingy. So I stayed there, I don't know where to go. And then the guys around me told me they learned that in school. They teach them how to respond whenever there's a tremor. But how do you know how to respond when a hurricane comes in? You just do what you see other people do. I mean, we have to be in an age where we can train our children at school how to respond to those things. But how to build resilience, that is important. Recertification, skills, identifying the skills that we need. Where the emphasis should be, where the retraining should be. And these are some of the things that we need to start talking about. And you, the public officers, it is you who have to guide and to lead that discussion. In healthcare, and again I spoke of accident and emergency, but what about certification? What about, I think they have something called ACLS and the BCLS, advanced life trauma and thing that you do to save people's lives. So when you have a hurricane and you have a major event, people are traumatized, shocked, on a wide scale. Are our doctors and nurses trained to deliver service? Are they certified? Do we have a system of certification and recertification periodically, every 2 years, or whatever the case may be? These are the things that we have to do when you talk about building resilience. It's not about trying to dog hurricane and put, shelters, and this is resilience is more. There's more to resilience than that. We have to be able to ensure that our fire officers who are on the ambulance rise to becoming paramedics. You have a heart attack and a man come and give you a ride. That can't save your life. I mean, imagine that. You should be able not to get CPR or first aid, but to get some advanced, medical attention from the time you picked up from your home onto that ambulance. And the ambulance should not be a bus. It should be equipped with paramedic equipment. So therefore, we should start the conversation about certification, training at that level, so that our fire officers who serve the role of paramedics can be able to offer a higher quality of service to save lives. That is resilience. That is what we're talking about when we talk about building resilience. Telecommunications. We should have our own layer of network that can withstand impact of major events on top of what exists now, so that we can communicate, because one of the biggest impact to people psychologically is not being able to communicate. You don't know how your family members are. We don't know, your emergency services don't know where to render service because nobody can communicate. And therefore we need to start looking, and I know there are some conversations taking place, mark you. Some of the things I'm saying are not novel. There are efforts that have started within the government system. Water. I mean, this is the biggest irony. A country with so much water, the amount of times the WASCO have to turn off the pipes. Investments in water storage, using renewable energy technologies to ensure that we don't run out of power, protection of intakes and so forth. But I will only speak to one more area, because we can talk about sustainable and resilient tourism, for example, but I want to touch one more. Well, two. One is communications, excluding telecommunications, but roads, bridges. And thank God we've seen what resilient bridges can be like. In Roseau, we stand in the impact of Hurricane Maria. So at least we have that one figured out. That's great. What about how we move around? Might it not be a time to start looking at the flow of traffic and get some expert to study the whole traffic? All of us go through that. We go to Roseau in the morning. You can hardly get into town. And some people have a simple solution. Oh, stop bringing in vehicles. Yeah, so who should not have a vehicle, me or you? And that's my question, simple. And then my friend told me the other day, why don't you have like even and odd numbers as they do in Paris? So today, Monday, you even number, you can come in Roseau. If you odd number, you can't come. Your turn is tomorrow. But who should not come to Roseau? Me or you? It's a simple question. But to me, that's not the solution. The solution is to look at the road network, bring in the experts. Let them tell us how to design the flow of traffic. Maybe some one-ways should not be one-ways. Maybe some two-ways should not be two-ways. Maybe you should not be going this side or that side. Maybe you need you need traffic lights, perhaps. Some people say more roundabouts. I don't know what it is, but we need to get people who are trained to do that to tell us what it is. Because this is part of building resilience. What about mass transit? We're too small for that? I don't know. Should we be looking at moving around in mass transit? I don't know, but these are questions we need to start answering as we mature. And I was so excited when PM said at our 40th birthday that we need to start having some mature conversations. This is what mature people do. We're not fâchés avec monde who say workers, who say labor. That is not about political sides. That is about Dominica's development. And people must stop having positions based on which side they are. Your position must be based on what is best for Dominica, what the science says, what the research and development is saying. And when somebody offer a critic of what it is that we do, we shouldn't just get vexed with the person and start to answer them. We need to reflect, pause, think about it, and then answer. But before somebody says something, as if it's not what you say, who say it? So finally, resilience. We have to build a resilient people. Because I hear a lot about building resilience, and I'm happy, I'm excited. For years we've been talking about that. I mean, a few years ago in 2014, Doug hosted an event here in Dominica talking about building resilience to climate change. People maybe forget that. So I have been in that business for a while. But one of the things that I have not heard much of is people. Because everything we're doing is about people. How do we build a resilient people? And that is a question that I want to leave with you. People must be at the center of everything we do. It is because of them and for them we do what we do. We have embarked upon this journey. We therefore must endeavor to make our people more resilient to the impact of changing the world. And when I talk about resilient people, I'm not talking only about to climate change, to changes in the world. You saw what happened to us in the banana industry. I'm talking about resilience, economic resilience. Are we getting people psychologically prepared for major events? And after major events, do we offer services to them? But you know, it's still taboo. If you go to a what we call it, a therapist, I'm not talking about Dr. Benji. I don't go in that far yet. But if you just go to a therapist, about tout monde fou, and that's it, stigma. People think you're mad, Mr. Mad, you know. But this is serious. I saw men and women after Maria who were walking around like zombies. People need sometimes some psychological support, therapy, counseling. So that has to be part of what we do so that we can build tougher people, stronger people, people who know how to deal with challenges, with situations. But also we need to help them to build their own economic resilience. So when a hurricane hits you, you can fix your house for yourself. To have proper insurance. To learn how to buy insurance. That is a way of teaching people to be resilient. To know how to buy insurance, something as simple as that. What you should pay attention to. Healthcare. Perhaps we need to start broadening the conversation on the National Health Insurance Scheme, and the Prime Minister spoke about that as well. That is building resilience. So when something happens to you, you're able to take care of yourself. Well, I sound more like being self-reliant, but in my view, this is what resilience is about. But I will conclude, because I see some of you watching me like, Mr. Not finishing then. I will conclude. Today, And I'll try to do the part I don't normally like to do. I'll read, so I'll finish faster. Today, I implore you, as purveyors of public goods and services, to work diligently, recognizing that your clientele, and I told you that before, that your clientele may not have a choice of service provider. There are functions that only you as public officers can perform. Only you. And therefore, we must do our best in rendering those goods and services. One of many life lessons that I have learned, and as a Boy Scout, I learned that. A scout should smile and whistle under any circumstance. I saw Benji there a while ago, and Benjamin Lloyd. We were scouts in the back, like days. But what I've learned about that, the lesson that I got about smiling and whistling under all circumstances, is that when you like what you do, it looks good on you. I don't know if you get me. You go and you do something, you may be fashy because they call you to do it, like me today, but you have to enjoy it. I couldn't say no to Miska. So you have to enjoy it. If you enjoy what you do, you will really be anxious to go back and do it the next day. But every time you get a reason to complain, boy, you just keep getting more reasons to complain. Just think about it. You tell yourself, boy, this thing sucks. I don't like doing this. Oh, sorry, sir. I don't enjoy doing this. It's a terrible experience. And the more you tell yourself that, is the more you get reasons why you don't like that thing. You need to change your perspective on things. You're there. It may not be what you want to do for the rest of your life. But while you're doing it, enjoy it. And work towards the thing that you really want to do. That is my message to you. But finally, let's resolve to collectively prepare for and to respond to the impact of major events that affect our lives. At the end of the day, I remember another lesson I learned from the Boy Scouts. Whenever we went to a camp, and I remember my first camp, international camp, was in Australia. I was about 14 or 15. And one of the lessons they've taught us, always seek to leave a place better than you met it. So as you move through your journey in whatever station you are, commit yourself to leaving that place better than you found it.
Oh, that was wonderful, Dr. Henderson. Can we give him another round of applause, please? And now it's time for a mental break. We will have the New Dimension Theatre doing a performance for us.
That is. Wait.
Sir, you know your mother already. I'll go to a shelter.
No, Ricky, please, I beg you. Wait a while, let me go and ask Daddy here, please. Daddy, Daddy, can you please allow Ricky to come here and pass this gum with us, please?
Well, of course, why not? Tell him to come inside.
Thank you very much, Daddy. Ma, please, I beg you, please.
Let this boy go to a shelter, not inside this house. Jonathan, I know you. If this boy comes inside the house, I will go back.
Mary, stop with your foolishness, okay? Stop with your foolishness. Bring the car inside. JJ, it's okay. I'll get someone else to see.
What? No, God is good. God is good. Don't worry. God is good. I'm sure He will see us for this sum of life. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Anyway, we will continue on WhatsApp as long as we can. Yes, yes, my baby, I love you too. Bye-bye.
Rosa, you even tell him you love him too? But what you want to think I'm like that?
Hey! One time.
I tell you again.
Relax, mommy. All you. Listen to the PM post. Yes. He say, yes. He say, all you, we on the lookout.
Let me tell
Relax. He say, we on the lookout. All we hearing is the sound of governor flying and the sound of the fury of the wind as we pray for it to end. Don't worry, he will save Ricky, you know. He will save Ricky, Daddy, because...
Hello?
Yeah, give us an idea what is happening in Kennedy Avenue now.
The river is in our house.
With the river.
Yes, from Kennedy Avenue.
Wow. Okay.
Let's see what the financial center.
Mommy, what you doing there? Mommy, what you doing there? Mommy, relax yourself. Mommy, come up on that there. Come up on that there. Come up on that there. What you doing, Mommy? What you doing, David? Let's go, Mommy. Let's go now. Now, man, I have a problem, man. You have a problem, man. Oh, man. Oh, you. The PM was gone. The PM was gone. Daddy, look at it before seeing my room is completely gone. I am at the completely mercy of the hurricane. Look another post. Wait for the post. My house is flooding, but I have been rescued. The PM said he went strong. It's strong. He said it is rough. You don't put something yet. But Mommy, I have to report. What happened to you now? But Auntie, what? Is maybe all your husband that one carry to say, my husband? Yes. Let's go back to headquarters. You get yourself. Wait a minute. JJ, let me ask you a question. JJ, you go in the cupboard. Tell me, how big was that cupboard for this?
I dropped right in it. No, you find it out about that. You have never let me tell you all about that.
Thank you, New Dimension Theatre. Can we have a round of applause for them? Okay, so I have been informed of a slight change to the program, so we will go straight into the presentation of the awards and the certificates. I would like to call on His Excellency Charles Savin, President of Dominica, to deliver the tokens to the public service retirees, please. Now, there are a lot of awardees or retirees, so we will do it by department. Please, if you are present when I call you, could you come up? And the persons who are supposed to hand out the gifts? Oh, wonderful. So we'll start with the Office of the Prime Minister, Teresa Joseph and Cecilia Joseph. Teresa Joseph and Celia Joseph. All right, the Audit Department, Marigold Ulysses. Establishment Personnel and Training Department, Pearl Prevost, Nathalie Ogaro, Public and Police Services Commission, Mrs. Eleanor Farrell. Ministry of Finance, Christine Baron. Norman Moranci, Bernadette Commodore, Joseph Prince, Derek Davis, Curtis Victor, Stephen Nicholas, Kelvin Thomas, Judith Simon, Irvin Williams, John Davis, Ministry of Justice, Immigration and National Security, Alvin Esprit, Samuel Birmingham, Annie Albert, Dennis Blanc, Marina Williams, Roy Popo, Hendricks Thomas, Stephanie Dorset, George Bellot, Vernita Campbell, Joseph Pinard, okay. At this point, we'd just like to pause so we can acknowledge the arrival of the Honorable Prime Minister. Would you please stand? Welcome, Honorable Prime Minister. Good morning. Sorry. Peter John Baptiste. Raphael Patton, Veronica Andrew, Ministry of Health and Social Services, Davis Letan, Dr. Hazel Shillingford Ricketts, Dr. Irvin Pascal, Cesarina Ferrell, Alestina Pascal James, Christabel Mitchell, Agatha Lowe, Johan Gist Douglas, Clarisse Antoine, Clive Rodney, Idris Gilbert Prosper, John Williams, Joycelyn Austri Green, it will be collected on behalf of Mr. Ron Green. On her behalf by Mr. Ron Green. I apologize. Ferdinia Carbon. Nobertine Patricia Etienne, Madeline John, Elizabeth Trocard. Madeline John is coming up. Elizabeth Trocard, Victoria Laville, Helen Girodel, Davina Latham, Celia Baron, Jennifer Shillingford, Evadne Privo, Marie Charles, Vanya Morgan, Catherine Shillingford Bellot, Michael Buckmeyer, thank you. Thomas Daru, Marcella Merle Joseph. Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Fisheries, Norman Norris, Lennox Timothy, Raphael Carbon, Jefferson Thomas, Winston Maglo, Gerard Benjamin, Mrs. Aqua will be collecting on behalf of Mr. Maglo. Gerard Benjamin, Sandra Michelle, Mary Jolly, Exilia Dick, Pierre Matthew, Evelyn Newton, Joe Laguerre, Eric Madir, Austin Winston, Loftus Valmond. Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development, Griffin Etienne, Batilia Matthew, Miranda Riley, Abraham Duran, Editha Ambrose, Mervyn Alexander, Max Andrew, Patsy Leta, Florence Tyson, Valentine Graham, Corinne Nicholas, Corinne Nicholas, Jacinta Charles, Fabiana Moses, Jennifer Roberts, Katharina Leta, Elma Williams, Your Excellency, we wish to thank you very much. At this time, I will call on Ambassador Steve Farrell to handle the rest of the awards. Oh, but before I do, I have a notice. The driver of PE 705, you are blocking traffic. Could you move, please? That is PE 705. At this time, I would like to call on the Honorable Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, to deliver an address to us.
Thank you very much. Let me first of all recognize in our presence our President, His Excellency Charles Savre and Mr. Savre, Honorable Reginald Ostry, Deputy Prime Minister, my other cabinet colleagues who are here present, His Excellency Dr. Vince Henderson, our Ambassador to the United States of America and the OAS, and our featured speaker today, the Secretary to the Cabinet, Ambassador Farrell and Mrs. Farrell, Miss Cecilia Carr, Chief Personal Officer Acting, Ms. Joan Commodore, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice, Immigration and National Security, other permanent secretaries present, heads of department, other invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon. Morning still. I first want to apologize for being late to this very important event. The reason being, I was trying to be in two places at the same time, but that's impossible. We had today, and it's still ongoing, a meeting of the Monetary Council to address the issue relating to the proposed sale of Scotiabank's holdings to the Republic Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. I came in and I sat there and I saw people coming up to receive tokens. So I asked my colleague and friend, Honorable Ostry, are these people receiving awards for having successfully completed the orientation of the induction in the public service? Because they did not strike me as people who look like retired people. I am 26 years old and they look younger than me. And the question is, and I have looked at them, they look strong physically. The smiles on their faces tell me that they are mentally sound. And the question is, why are we sending these people home to sit down? And I believe that it is a conversation which the country must have at some point. Now, I know that we have taken a decision to increase the age of retirement in an incremental fashion. But that increase in the age of retirement incrementally is largely a Social Security motivated decision. And I think we may need to have a conversation, and I'm not imposing anything on anybody. But for small countries like ours in the Caribbean, with a very limited human resource capacity and base, why is it the developed world's retirement age is higher than ours? So it is something that we may need to look at and to ask ourselves, the age which we have placed at retirement, and those of you who are leaving, it is not automatic that you will get back in to contribute. It would have to be on a case-by-case basis. So it is something I believe that we need to look at objectively and sincerely as a country to decide whether there is a need to increase the age of retirement. So it's something we need to look at. I want to apologize and to recognize Dr. Dublin, who is the chairman of the Public Service Commission in our midst. So it's important for us to look at this. I want to first of all thank the organizers, and in particular the chairperson officer and the committee of permanent secretaries for your hard work and the department for putting this event together. And I believe it's important that we stop and pause to say thanks to those who have contributed to our nation and our nation's development. Because in the past, what obtained was that you would receive, and you still do receive it, a one-sentence letter drawing to your attention the need for you to proceed on pre-retirement leave because you will attain the age of 60 on a particular date. And that was the last you heard of your employer. And I think I'm happy that we have moved beyond that and to bring us here together to recognize your sterling contribution to Dominica's development. Many of you who worked under trying and difficult circumstances. But you persevered because you recognized that you were not only doing it for your fellow men and fellow women, you were doing it for yourself and for your country. A country that has given all of us and all of you the foundation upon which we all stand today. And also to recognize those who continue to provide service and to identify those who are exemplary in the dispensation of their responsibilities. So this event is very important and for us to say thanks, because gratitude and gratefulness are very important elements in life and interpersonal relationships. But going forward, I think we have to try to continue to make the public service and the dispensation of our duties and responsibilities to our citizens more modern. And I will be rolling out in the near future some new ideas I believe that we need to adopt in the conduct of public service. For example, credit cards and debit cards have been in existence for several decades now. And why is it that we cannot pay for government services using debit cards and credit cards? If we move into a paperless financial transaction, why should we not try to modern and get the public service to be at the same level in terms of innovation? And sometimes the public service may not even want to accept a check from you. They want cash. And we're moving away from cash. The world is moving away from cash. You go to China, for example, and all your payments are made with a cell phone. You go to the supermarkets and you pay for your cell phone. You go to the hotels and you pay for utilizing your cell phone. And I think we need to seek to move to this era. And this, in my mind, would, one, make the public service more efficient. It would bring us more revenue. And it would reduce on the voluminous amount of paper files which we have, and we have no space for them. And therefore we have to look at this thing. So I'm giving you one idea of a decision which we will take in making the public service more modern. I also believe that we need to revisit the working hours, not the 8 to 4. Do we have the 8 to 4, or could we not adopt a shift system? A shift system, and there will be many attendant benefits to this. There are many of you in the public service who have children of school age, and you may not have the opportunity or the ability to finance for a caregiver, a caretaker. And we have moved away from the era of the extended families, where our grandmothers would stay home and care for our children. We don't have this. And how do we get people to be productive, but at the same time be able to take on their motherly and parental duties in a changing world? We have to also look seriously at the condition of work and ask ourselves, not seek to build more modern facilities and accommodation for office accommodation for our staff. In the next few weeks, we will roll out for you as the public service a comprehensive plan to provide better and more comfortable working accommodation for you. Because I go to this old ministerial building, and every day I go there, every time I go there, there's a new cubicle that has been set up, fetching for space. Very soon people will be sitting on the steps. And therefore we have to address this in a comprehensive manner. And we'll roll out to you very soon a comprehensive plan. I also believe too that we in the public service must stand up and defend our delivery of service. I find that, you know, and you wait for politicians to come and defend you. I can't defend you, you have to defend yourself. When people question your professionalism, people question your impartiality, people question your attitude, yes, there are some of us who have to do some introspection and say, well, we need to improve. But I believe the vast majority of public servants are exemplary in their attitude and the delivery of service. But when the only person who defends you is myself, what happens? And you all listen to and you read the criticisms. And sometimes these criticisms are targeted and direct. I take, for example, that every single day and week there is an attack on the delivery of healthcare services in our country. And I've not heard one nurse or doctor defend it. And while there needs to be improvements in the facilities and otherwise, but our nurses, the majority of them, and our doctors, the majority of them, are making miracles. But the unfortunate thing in this country, which is not helpful and will not help any one of us in this country, the 72,000 of us who are resident in Dominica, is that we have decided in our minds to see things purely with political partisan lenses. And therefore, we will not respond because we may think is a critic, say, of the government if we don't support it, or the government if we support it. We have to look beyond these things. We have to look beyond those things in the delivery of our service and also our defense and promotion of the service. So I challenge you of the need for you to promote what you're doing. Because if we do not promote and defend what we're doing, what kind of example are we setting for those who are in the service and those who wish to come into the service? Because all of you here, all of us who will retire at some point are going to need people to provide services to us. So we need to speak up in defense and promotion of the service. I also believe that the public service needs to properly apprise itself of the vision of the government to creating the world's first climate resilient nation. When the government articulated this vision, just a mere few days after the hurricane on Saturday at the United Nations, there were many nations and institutions around the world that were saying, look, this is a small country that has just been ravaged by a hurricane. What is this leader of this country saying? How is this small country going to achieve it? But we have seen the reaction of the international community to that vision. And I say to us in Dominica, and I've said so many times, that the international community is not helping us because we were hit by a hurricane. They're helping us because of the express vision that we have declared to the world. And they would like to help us and be part of this success because they want to have what we call a poster child. And the pledges which we received at the UN's led and organized pledging conference last year spoke to the commitment of the international community to assist us in realizing that dream. And therefore, important for us as the public service to understand that whatever planning we are doing at the ministry level, at the department level, at the center of this is the building of resilience and the articulated vision of the state. And therefore, all of us, every one of us must participate and contribute to this effort. Because the fact remains, and the recent report that was published by the United Nations indicate that the Paris Accord, which we signed in 2015, that things have gotten worse since then. That the world, we have seen an increase in the emission of carbon gases in the atmosphere. And therefore, the frequency of the storms will continue to increase. And also, the ferocity of the storms will also intensify. So these storms will come. But we believe that we can build resilience, not only in the physical infrastructure, but also our human capital, our fiscal policies, etc., etc. And we have the plan. We've shared with the public. It's important for us to, in the public service, to be fully knowledgeable about these plans. My final point to you, because I know you have your wonderful awards to receive, is that I would like to see more ministers of finance in the public service, not from an expenditure authority standpoint, but from a prudence standpoint, an accountability standpoint. You are entrusted with $5, you must be able to account for $5. And I think we are, because we have to be mindful that this country is not rich. And we will not be able to locate gold in our country anytime soon. And we will not be able to locate any oil wells off the shore of Dominica anytime soon. And therefore, we have $1. That $1 must do more for us. And therefore, there has to be greater accountability. And we have to go back to the old days when every single person in every single line of the public service was accountable, and accountability was demanded of him or her. So you have a vehicle entrusted to you. The rules, the financial rules state that you must keep a log. It must say where you're driving from, and what time you left, and what time you arrived, and what time you came back. It says that you must account for the use of the petroleum, the fuel that you receive. And fuel can't be sold to a public service in a drum or a jerry can. It must go into the tank. If you knock the vehicle, you must call the police and you must have a report. Because this vehicle is not cheap. On average, any vehicle you see being driven there costs about $180,000. These pickups, pickup, I said, well, why should a pickup van be so expensive? You know, they're expensive plus insurance. And then sometimes we knock these vehicles. You may not be wrong, but because you're indifferent to it, you do not write any report. And we get no insurance payout to fix the vehicle. And sometimes the heads of the department can't never account for vehicles disappear. And we cannot account for it. So we have to look at this, because every dollar we spend in things like that is $1 we deny ourselves of making progress. And therefore we must look at it from the point of view that it is it will affect us individually. Because none of us, I have not met one Dominican who has come to me and said, look, Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, I want to pay more tax. I'm not paying enough tax in Dominica. I want to pay more. Every time they meet me, boy, this tax thing and so on, and can you reduce the VAT and so forth. I complained to the Minister of Finance myself about how much income tax I pay. I pay too much income tax and so on. It's just too high. You give me a few dollars here, you're taking almost a third of it back into income tax and so on. But it's important for small countries like ours. Though, in my next term, God's willing, we will look at reducing the income tax rate to a flat rate. A flat rate of income tax across the board, rather than the three-tier system that we have, so that people keep more of their money and be able to spend it as they wish. So I want to congratulate you again, those of you who have taken a sabbatical. You're not retiring, you have taken a sabbatical, because I know all of you will continue to work in your communities, and some of you will be called back to contribute to national duty. And I want to again congratulate all of the public servants who have been recognized by the peers for special awards today. So may God bless you, and may God bless our country, Dominica. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Let us resume. His Excellency. Ministry of Ecclesiastical Affairs, Family and Gender Relations. Melanie Francois, Miss Cynthia Andre will be collecting on her behalf. Alberta Wiltshire. John Fontaine. Catherine Fontaine. Gertrude Coffey. Gertrude Coffey, Henrik Aaron, Julius Walsh, Zenith Harry, Geraldine John Baptist. Ministry of Foreign Affairs and CARICOM Affairs. Anne Lewis. Sonia Maglo Akpa. Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports and Constituency Empowerment. Myrtle Pemberton. Trevor Philogen. Frances Casimir. Emmeline Fritz. Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Earl Etienne. Ministry of Housing and Lands, Kelvin Carlisle, Simeon Jones, Gabriel Nelson, Ministry of Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development, Jacqueline Dinard, Ministry of Planning and Economic Development, Ronald Lander, Ministry of Public Works, Water Resource Management and Ports, Valencia Laville Williams, Ministry of Kalinago Affairs, Dr. Charles Corbett. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. We will now call on Ms. Carr, the Chief Personnel Officer, to deliver the banner award, the winning banner award. A banner competition was launched and provided an opportunity for public officers to display their art and innovative skills in the creation of a suitable banner based on the theme, building a resilient public service, a collective response. We'd like to call on the winner of the banner award. Vanilla Orley. Oh, and the banner is actually right here. This is beautiful. Congratulations. I will now call on Honorable Justina Charles to deliver the Sports Award. Winners of sports competitions, could you please come up? Ministry for cricket, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports and Constituency Empowerment. The PS should accept on their behalf. Football, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports and Constituency Empowerment. volleyball, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports and Constituency Empowerment. Rounders, Dominica Police Force and Ministry of Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development. Fun Games, Dominica Prison Services, and the Ministry of Justice, Immigration, and National Security. Superintendent, would you please accept on behalf of the Dominica Prison Services? Thank you. Oh, she took it. Okay. The overall winner, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports and Constituency Empowerment. Thank you very much, Honorable Charles. Now for the award section, what I will do is I will call up the nominees, and you are both to come to the front, and then the winner will be announced. So for the Jerry Augustine Award, Mr. Michael Augustine will deliver the award. And the nominees, Oric Henry and Jenna Ivira James. I congratulate you both. The winner is Mr. Oric Henry. Oh, I apologize. Miss Roanna Joseph will give the citation of this award, and I believe that the persons are also receiving nomination certificates.
Mr. Oric Henry started his career in the public service in August 2015. He began at the Ministry of Social Services, Family and Gender Affairs, now Ecclesiastical Affairs, Family and Gender Affairs. He also worked at the Ministries of Trade and Energy and Justice, Immigration, and National Security. The Establishment, Personnel, and Training Department is privileged to have Oric join its team in April 2016. Oric has been stationed at the Public Service Training Center, where he also serves the Reform Management Unit, and prior to July 2018, the Information, Communication, and Technology Unit. When a department speaks of a remarkable worker, Mr. Oric Henry fits this description perfectly. Oric is always punctual for duty, and his absences covered with strict adherence to the public service policy. Although he is employed as an office attendant, he assists frequently in a variety of ways to create a comfortable and safe work environment for his colleagues and ensuring the safety and security of public service resources. Oric can be referred to as the fix-it office attendant. His skills facilitate the repairs of electrical switches, appliances, faucets, toilets, doors and locks, just name it. There is no downtime for Oric. Why? Because he always puts his time into good use to the benefit of the department. This is apparent when he provides continuous support to the establishment's maintenance section. Mr. Oric Henry is responsible and committed to the task. For this reason, the establishment, personnel and training department has to often collaborate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to share Oric to assist in the absence of their office attendants and also to be part of the protocol team. This means that Oric is in high demand in critical sensitive divisions throughout the public service, and this is due to his efficiency, dependability, confidentiality, competence, and over-willingness to assist. Oric maintains a great relationship with his colleagues and trainees alike. He does a fantastic job in preparing for training sessions and caring for the participants. If anyone wants a word to describe this office attendant, stupendous will resound. He is a loyal public officer who does what is best, just when it is needed. Mr. Oric Henry is dedicated and his output is incomparable. For these reasons, it is an honor to bestow on Mr. Oric Henry the Jerry Augustine Award for Public Service Day 2018. Congratulations once again to Mr. Oric Henry.
Ms. Jenna, could you please accept your nomination certificate? To deliver the Temporary Officer Award, Mrs. Letitia Lestrade White, PS, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Social Services. Could you please come up? Could all the officers' names please come up for your nomination certificate? Cyril Stowe, Daphne Eugenia Douglas, Giselle Gabriel. I'm sorry. There seems to be a mistake on mine. Oh, I'm sorry. The Temporary Officers Award. Shannon Harper and Oric Henry, could you please come up for your nomination certificates? Shannon Harper and Oric Henry. And the winner is Miss Shannon Harper.
Temporary Officer Award goes to Shannon Harper. Miss Shannon Harper started high school at the age of 9 and graduated in 2006. At the tender age of 13, upon graduation from high school, she went on to college where she pursued an associate degree in the field of business administration. Ms. Harper began her work experience in 2009, where she worked a few months at the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry. In 2010, she was given the first opportunity to be employed at the Ministry of Health, where she served as a data entry clerk temporary. Following, the officer continued to serve as a temporary officer, not only in the position of data entry clerk, but in the position of junior clerk as well. Ms. Harper can be described as a very efficient, respectful, honest, disciplined, astute, and dedicated public officer. Rare attributes which cannot be found easily. Because of her exemplary professional skills, she was assigned to perform the duties of secretary to the Chief Medical Officer, where she presently continues to serve, and where she continues to demonstrate her great ability at multitasking, and working efficiently even under pressure. Hence, Ms. Harper has assisted in providing coverage on the desk of Secretary to the Honorable Minister, Secretary to the Permanent Secretary, Secretary to the Principal Nursing Officer, Registration Desk, and Filing Desk. All this being done in conjunction with her duties, without remuneration, but with the blessings from the Almighty. Ms. Shannon Harper, being an oriented and purpose-driven individual, will persevere in any task that she is given and any personal accomplishments she sets out herself. She is currently pursuing her bachelor's degree program in business administration and management, and although she's pursuing her studies while she continues to work, her attendance and performance at work is commendable. Her EADR ratings for the period 2016 and 2017 and 2017 to 2018 of 110.7 and 112 respectively is evidence of her performance. Ms. Harper has demonstrated a very high level of professionalism, carries herself with poise and grace, has great rapport with her colleagues and the public alike, and is always willing to help others. Ms. Shannon Harper exemplifies what an outstanding public service officer should be, and was therefore nominated by the Ministry of Health and Social Services for the award for Outstanding Temporary Officer. Congratulations, Ms. Shannon Harper.
To deliver the Junior Officer Award, Ms. Hazel Allport, Senior Administrative Officer, Education and Human Resource Development. The nominees: Cyril Stowe, Daphne Eugenia Douglas, Giselle Gabriel, Jerry Parker, Kenroy Leta, Lisa Marie Esprit, Mariah Fontaine, Nathalie Louis Hippolyte, Chanel Mills. Could you all come forward for your nomination certificate? And we have two winners, Kenroy Leta and Mariah Fontaine.
Mr. Kenroy Leta joined the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development in 2016 as a result of a posting from the Public Service Commission. He was assigned the role of votes clerk because of his knowledge and experience in that field. Very early in his assignment, it was easy to recognize his capacity for the accounts. Hence, he quickly came up to speed with minimal support from his predecessor. The officer has shown competence for excelling in the area of his work in ensuring that he accomplishes the assigned duties with a level of excellence and proficiency. Most importantly, Mr. Later has had to assume much more responsibilities than those normally assigned to his counterparts in the public service, and has done this unflinchingly. The structure of the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development does not provide for a direct supervisor of accounts, and as such, Mr. Later has had to perform work at the level of a senior executive officer, accounts, and report directly to the permanent secretary in that regard. He also contributes towards the ministry's annual recurrent budget and provides advice to the permanent secretary, who is the chief accounting officer, on expenditures. Mr. Later is adept at processing invoices and local purchase orders and ensures that all payments are expedited in a timely fashion. He goes beyond the call of duty in ensuring that all adjustments to the payroll are processed in a timely fashion. The officer will personally go to vendors for quotations, liaise with the systems administrator at the establishment department, staff of the Ministry of Finance, the Treasury Department, and the Computer Center to ensure that his work is properly executed in accordance with financial processes and standards. Clients and staff of the ministry and the Physical Planning Division express consistent satisfaction with the way in which the matters or concerns are handled and expedited. He is always on time for work, shows willingness to be called to the office if needed, when on vacation leave or remaining extra hours if needed, to ensure work is completed. Mr. Kenroy Later's hard work, call of duty, dedication, stewardship, and excellent performance of his duty is one deserving of recognition. It is an honor to bestow on Mr. Kenroy Later the Junior Officer Award for Public Service Day 2018. Ms. Moriah Fontaine joined the public service in July of 2004 as the Junior Clerk Temporary at the then Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs, Sports, and Human Resource Development. She was appointed to the position of Junior Clerk on 1st of March 2008. Ms. Fontaine can be described as an officer who performs her duties with a high level of diligence and efficiency. This was highlighted in the letters of commendations she received from the various heads of departments where she worked. She is always punctual and seldom absent from work. On 1st November 2009, Ms. Fontaine was seconded to serve as Secretary to the National Accreditation Board. The basis of her selection to this position was due to the high level of efficiency demonstrated in the execution of her duties. She served the board for a period of 3 years. From December 2013, she acted in the position of senior clerk on numerous occasions, and from all reports, she performed with a high level of competence. She has been acting continuously in the position of senior clerk, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports, and Constituency Empowerment from October 2015 and continues to maintain the high level of performance and enthusiasm. Ms. Fontaine is very observant and quick to point out discrepancies, important attributes which further strengthens the high level of accuracy with which she performs her tasks. She uses her initiatives to ensure completion of tasks and has demonstrated her ability to function with little or no supervision. Due to her knowledge and understanding of SmartStream, she is often called upon to provide assistance where necessary. The high point of Ms. Fontaine's capabilities was revealed following the passage of Hurricane Maria. She was the only officer to report to the ministry 2 days after the disaster. Once there, she secured all office equipment and assisted in cleaning the various offices that were affected. During that time, she also performed the functions of other members of staff for about 1 week. Ms. Fontaine continued to take advantage of opportunities for self-development. She has participated in several training programs organized by the establishment personnel and training department. She is currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in human resource management at the University of the West Indies. For these reasons, it is an honor to bestow on Miss Moriah Fountain the Junior Officer Award for Public Service Day 2018.
Thank you, Ms. Popo, for accepting on Mariah's behalf. Congratulations. To deliver the Senior Officer Award, Dr. Reginald Thomas, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Fisheries. Nominees, please come forward. Cedric Labad and Kemuel Lodrick. Cedric Labad and Kemuel Lodrick, please come and receive your nomination certificates. And the winner is Mr. Kemuel Lodrick.
Mr. Kemuel Reginald Lodrick is a database developer at the Information and Communication Technology Unit, Ministry of Information, Science, Telecommunications, and Technology for the past 4 years. His drive and creativity flourished from the tender age of 9. In 2007, he graduated from the Dominica Grammar School, where he avidly pursued information technology. Mr. Lodrick pursued an associate degree in information technology at the Dominica State College, while simultaneously teaching music at the Christian School of Music. He later transferred into a Bachelor of Science program with the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean in Jamaica in 2012. He has since completed his studies and will be graduating in the summer of 2019. In order to nurture his skills, Mr. Lodrick participated in numerous activities and competitions, from game and application development, hackathons, 3D programming, to learning programming languages like Java, SQL, and jQuery. Additionally, he has earned a certification in SQL Database Administrator, SQL Database Developer, Network Plus, Android Developer, and Database Fundamentals. Mr. Lodrick holds steadfast to the belief that while education is something that is provided for all, education is also something we create for ourselves. Before he began his technological pursuits, his love for music spurred his completion of grade 1 to 5 in piano and music theory, obtaining distinctions at each level. In 2014, his team won a national hackathon and went on to represent Dominica at the IICA conference in Suriname, where each team was directed to create an app for agriculture. Over the past 4 years, the officer has shown innovation and extensive involvement in the unit. He is self-driven, very work, dedicated, always delivers in a timely manner, and works with quality in mind. Not only is he a team player, but he has shown a willingness to share his experience with other team members and serves as a peer reviewer of the work of his colleagues. He is respectful, begins work before 7:30 a.m. and leaves work way after 4 p.m. consistently. Mr. Lodrick is a very task-oriented person and has sustained a commitment to developing new approaches and solutions to everyday impediments. While his position title is database developer, he is also versed in software development and can also be called upon to assist with tasks well beyond his scope of work, like printer repairs or troubleshooting computer systems. His contributions have increased and made him more visible, or rather made more visible, the value of the ICT unit in the public service and beyond. Mr. Lodrick was responsible for the development of over 7 software applications for the public service. Mr. Kemuel Lodrick is today presented with the Senior Officer Award on the occasion of Public Service Day 2018.
Congratulations, Mr. Lodrick. I will now call on Mr. Lucian Blackmore, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Housing and Lands, to deliver the Middle Management Award. Please, when I call your name, could you come up to collect your nomination certificate? Doreen Fabian, Emmeline Matthew, Eva Vigilant, Francisca Joseph, Joyette Fabian, Melissa Morgan. And the winner is Ms. Francisca Joseph.
Needed to settle in for this. Mrs. Francisca Joseph joined the public service in 1979 as an unqualified assistant teacher at the Ministry of Education, a position she held for 11 years. She was appointed in 1980 in the position of unqualified assistant teacher. She was later seconded to the Youth Development Division as a youth officer for 3 years, manning the Southeast and East districts. She was then assigned to the local government department as district development officer, posted to the Southeast. She also worked as director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs and a program officer at the Office of Disaster Management, and was then assigned to the Adult Education Division. The officer was appointed as Adult Education Aide in 1997 and then as Field Officer in 2009. She has been acting in the position of Adult Education Officer continuously from April 2017 and will retire from the public service in May 2019. Mrs. Joseph is the holder of a certificate in management development from the Arthur Locke Jack Graduate School of Business and completed a certificate course in middle management in Barbados in conjunction with the University of the West Indies. In addition, she possesses a graduate diploma in social protection with distinction with the University of. She is a trained instructor trainer with the United States Agency for International Development, Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance, providing disaster management training and facilitation skills in over 12 islands in the region. She also serves as National Volunteer Coordinator, and following Tropical Storm Erica and Hurricane Maria, she coordinated all volunteer activities and prepared reports to central administration. She was also influential in continuous training of staff in disaster risk reduction. Mrs. Joseph has demonstrated strong leadership and skills throughout her career path and is very innovative and creative, which is evident in the numerous programs initiated in redesigning the education curriculum for the adult education program island-wide and making adult learning a thrilling experience. During graduations, it is heartening to hear the experiences reported by students and the overwhelming praises accorded to Mrs. Joseph. She is highly talented, multi-skilled, and is an experienced professional with an extensive background in the management of the unit as well as other institutions. She has also held several positions in the public service over the past 36 years, which has characterized her as an effective and efficient leader and manager. Mrs. Joseph's successful stint in the public service and commitment to the task has rubbed on her staff, who look up to her as a mentor. Her success is clearly a reflection of the effort, pride, and passion put into her work. And achievements over the years include, but are not limited to, facilitating classes at the Dominica State Prison and the Roseau Continuing Education Program, facilitating capacity building and parenting education sessions in many communities around the island. Under her supervision, the Adult Education Division operated 2 in-house programs, building workforce capacity at Petro Caribe and Ross University School of Medicine in literacy and continuing education at the CSEC level. She's an employee of the latter and was able to obtain grades to enter. I'll take that again. An employee of the CSEC program was able to obtain grades to enter DeVry University. Used the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate CSEC program at the Dominica State Prison in September 2016 and continued until May 2017 with 14 inmates participants. These inmates wrote the CXC exams successfully, a first for the institution. 2 inmates obtained grade 1 in English A. 11 participants of the CCSLC program sat the regional examinations set by CXC, and all were successful. At CXC level, the division received a 60% pass in English A, 61% pass in mathematics, and 87% pass in office administration. This gave the division an overall pass rate of 60%, higher than the national average. 92 courses were implemented during the summer months of July and August during the last 2 years, and 610 participants obtained certificates of completion in a variety of skills. The division, in collaboration with the Point Michelle Village Council, organized and implemented a food preparation and presentation training course for 19 residents of Point Michelle and environs. Vendors operating businesses on the highway increased sales as a result of the food preparation and presentation course. She made representation on behalf of the division and received 3 laptops donated by CXC to the division as part of the e-learning support package. The donation was facilitated by the Ministry of Education local CXC registrar. Her commitment and dedication is the hallmark of her stint, but we know that this level of success was not reached in a single leap, but in a series of steps and initiatives taken. She continues to perform her duties with a high level of passion and diligence. Her competence, resourcefulness, and strong leadership qualities, together with her experience, have assisted her in becoming a well-rounded professional. She has demonstrated great team spirit and has provided enormous support to the administrative body. She embraces challenges and is always ready to go a mile to ensure that targets are met and the objectives of the Adult Education Division are realized. She has demonstrated qualities that help in enhancing service delivery in the public service and possesses qualities that are rare and which should be emulated within the service. The foundation of excellence demonstrated by the officer is built with the quality of her actions, professionalism, and the integrity maintained. The officer has been an asset not only to the division she leads, but to the entire Ministry of Ecclesiastical Affairs, Family and Gender Affairs, and to the entire public service. In recognition of her ongoing commitment to excellence and exemplary long service, she is presented this award. Mrs. Francisca Joseph.
Would somebody from her ministry please accept on her behalf? Thank you very much. To present the Senior Management Award, Mrs. Clara Savrin, wife of His Excellency the President. Senior Management Award. When I call you, please come up. Bernard Lloyd, Kerwin Fontaine, Letitia Lestrade-Wyke, Fabrina Thomas Bruno. Could you please come and receive your nomination certificates? And the winner is Fabrina Thomas Bruno.
Mrs. Fabrina Thomas Bruno joined the public service in May 2006 as a lab technician in a non-established capacity. After 3 years, she moved to the Ministry of Health, where she was appointed junior clerk in April 2009. In July of that same year, she joined the team at the Reform Management Unit as an administrative cadet and was appointed to that position in June of 2013. Mrs. Thomas Bruno was then promoted to the position of Administrative Officer in May 2016 and continues to act in that position. The officer possesses a certificate in Business Administration, Bachelor of Science degree in Management Studies, and a certificate in Project Management from the University of the West Indies Open Campus. She also holds an international diploma in Human Resource Personnel Administration from the Cambridge International College. She is currently a participant of the Leadership Development Program offered by the Caribbean Leadership Project, designed for officers in leadership or senior management positions in public services. Mrs. Thomas Bruno is highly committed, diligent, and undertakes her assigned duties confidently and with exceptional detail. To attest to this, constantly, the head of unit is reported as saying, "I really spoilt you with hard work. What will I do without you?" A truly exceptional employee with work ethics and office decorum, which is worthy of emulation by all public officers. She is always punctual for work. And for the reporting periods 2016 to 2018, she has never missed one day except for approved vacation leave. Mrs. Thomas Bruno is self-motivated and is a great team player. These attributes are often displayed during interactions with the other members of her team. The officer always inquires objectively like a learned lawyer and will not relent on her questions in order to achieve the objective of the area of work and the department generally. She's a perfectionist and believes in getting the job done the right way the first time. This is evident in her work output. The officer is frequently commended for providing excellent administrative support at the Reform Management Unit and the Establishment Personnel and Training Department. Feedback received from short-term consultants confirm her meticulous approach to her work assignments. Mrs. Thomas Bruno is a mentor and confidant to her colleagues and interns and teaches skills which have been self-taught. These include process mapping through sequence tabling, utilizing Microsoft Visio, which she has mastered. And she has also volunteered to lead a number of training sessions for divisions and units. The process mapping exercise is geared at preserving the institutional memory of the public service, enhancing the integrity of the processes, and increasing productivity. In keeping with the thrust for enhancing productivity and customer service, the officer was involved in pioneering a number of public service surveys to include the Customer Satisfaction Index Survey, the Work Climate Survey, and the Public Service Exit Survey. Data from these surveys have been collated, and analytical reports generated by the officer reveals her exceptional skills. The results and recommendations of these surveys are expected to improve the quality of the delivery of public services and to improve the morale of public officers. Due to these outstanding qualities detailed above, it is an honor to bestow upon Mrs. Fabrina Thomas Bruno the Senior Management Award on the occasion of Public Service Day 2018.
Congratulations, Mrs. Bruno. To deliver the team award, I now call on Mrs. Gloria Joseph, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development. And the nominations from the various ministries: Electrical Division, GIS and GEO Visualization Unit, Information and Communication Technology Unit, Local Government Vehicle Staff, Property Valuation Team, Quality and Infection Control Unit, Social Development, Macroeconomic and PSIP. And the winners, GIS and GEO Visualization Unit, that's a combined win. And Property Valuation Team, that's also a combined win.
Property Valuation Team Award Citation. For the past 30 to 35 years, the Property Valuation Unit has been an integral arm of the Ministry of Housing and Lands, with its core responsibility being the provision of advice to the Government of Dominica and other quasi-government bodies on matters pertaining to the valuation of properties for various purposes, including land purchase, land sales, lease of government properties, insurance, and verification of values for land transfer purposes. Over the years, the team has been involved in the provision of a large volume of appraisal reports and has provided sound advice to the various ministries for a number of large government acquisitions for road expansion, rehabilitation projects, other large infrastructure and national development projects, new housing developments, agricultural estates, and smaller residential, commercial, and industrial lands. With a staff complement of no more than 5 and an overloaded work program, this dedicated and motivated team has over the years worked together to ensure that the objectives of the unit are met, adhering to standard operating procedures and international valuation standards. The provision of quality property appraisals includes interfacing with the public and private landowners, property sales data research, site inspection, report generation, and dispatch. The team has also been involved in a number of other government initiatives, including the recently completed building damage assessment post-Hurricane Maria, where team members were personally and collectively identified for their leadership qualities and ability to provide guidance and motivation to other members of their respective teams. With the increase in demand for landed properties to undertake the various housing development and road expansion projects presently being undertaken, the team continues to play an integral role in the land acquisition process, thereby providing top quality appraisals and therefore ensuring that the overall objectives of the government are achieved. The Property Valuation Unit's work ethic is commendable, always demonstrating a high level of team spirit and professionalism as the team thrives on cooperative relationship, trust, respect for differences, and commitment to teamwork, with its main focus on contributing to building an effective, efficient, resilient public service, and Dominica by extension. The GIS and Geovisualization Unit Team Award Citation. The Lands and Surveys Division, LSD, under the direction and control of the President, is responsible for superintending the allocation and protection of state lands. It is the national mapping agency for the Commonwealth of Dominica and has been serving most, if not all, departments within the public service, private organizations, and individuals with mapping solutions. The team at the LSD works tirelessly to ensure the successful completion of all projects and maintains its strategic objectives, policies, mission statements, and frameworks. The team and staff under the direction of Mr. Marcus Lestrade was one of the first offices to be operational after the passage of Hurricane Maria. Under dire conditions, they cleaned and cleared up the damaged offices and restored the computers that were not severely damaged to allow them to have basic functionality. The GIS, Geographic Information System, and Geovisualization team worked tirelessly with high spirits, sometimes working from 6 a.m. to way past 6 p.m., with teams such as Global Medic, the Trinidad Regiment, and many other organizations that were present on island post-Hurricane Maria. The team provided mapping expertise, satellite imagery interpretation and analysis. Despite the working conditions, both in the office and out on the field, the team would diligently make themselves available on weekends to assist in what way they could. Despite the prevailing daunting conditions at the division, the team continues to display exceptional patriotism and management skills in accomplishing their tasks. Immediately after the hurricane, they demonstrated communication skills, cooperation, and camaraderie among themselves and with personnel from the various organizations with whom they partnered. Additionally, they have always been a source of inspiration to the entire department, always keeping themselves up to date in their various disciplines and sharing with or training other members of staff, all in an effort to make Dominica better, stronger, and an icon in mapping, surveying, geospatial information data management. The GIS and Geovisualization Unit of the Lands and Surveys Division is an integral contributor to national development in keeping with the pledge to become the first climate-resilient nation in the world.
Okay, just to recap and to clarify, the winners of the team award are the electrical division and a combined win for GIS and geovisualization units. As well as property valuation team, which was also
The Electrical Division. The Electrical Division of the Ministry of Public Works, Water Resource Management and Ports is responsible for the testing and inspection of private and commercial electrical installations, as well as maintaining of government's electrical installations. The division currently has a staff complement of 12, 1 senior electrical engineer, 1 electrical engineer, 2 electricians, 2 electrical technicians, 4 electricians non-established, and 2 junior clerks. Over the past 2 years, the strong commitment, high level of responsiveness, and dedication to task of the staff of the Electrical Division has been quite evident. During the first half of 2017, the division undertook the following 5 projects: replacement of the fluorescent and CFL lamps with LED at the Financial Center, Government Headquarters, and Inland Revenue in an effort to reduce government's electricity consumption per installation. Repairing of the Domlec-powered street lamps on the Bayfront. Rewriting of several government buildings, or that's rewiring of several government buildings. Replacement of the electrical installation at the State House and installed generators at 2 government entities. The role of the division is to test and inspect electrical installations and maintain government installations. Therefore, some of these more extensive projects mentioned previously would normally have been undertaken by private contractors. Notwithstanding, the staff of the division willingly undertook these projects in conjunction with their other duties. In most cases, they were required to work outside of work hours and in some instances, no overtime. The Electrical Division office on Goodwill Road was destroyed during the passage of Hurricane Maria on September 18, 2017. However, thankfully, the staff of the division had secured their equipment the day before the hurricane. This, therefore, allowed for a temporary relocation of their operations in the ministry's 10 by 20 conference room on the 3rd floor of the government headquarters, 13 days after the hurricane. The division functioned from that location for 10 months, from October 2017 to July 2018, before being relocated to the Independence Street in August 2018. From October 2017, that's from October 1st, 2017 to August 31st, 2018, the officers from the Electrical Division worked tirelessly day and night, 7 days a week, and traversed very difficult terrain to ensure that all electrical installations of homes, businesses, churches, etc. across the island were tested to facilitate the restoration of electricity services. These 10 electricians made no complaints. Instead, their focus was on testing and inspecting the next installation. In addition to having to inspect and test electrical installations across the island, the same officers were responsible for providing to the daily electrical needs of the entire government service. As at August 31st, 2018, the division had tested and inspected over 25,000 electrical installations, an outstanding effort which has impacted the life of every Dominican. To underscore their dedication and commitment to country, in September 2018, staff of the division were invited to discuss the restoration of streetlights along some of Dominica's critical roadways across the country to improve safety, particularly given the expected influx of visitors to our shores during the 2018 independence season. The idea was to try to mobilize contractors to a regard. However, given the extensive procurement protocols for the engagement of contractors and the tight timelines, staff of the electrical division volunteered to restore some of the streetlights. The division quickly set up two teams, one to continue normal activities and the other to work on the streetlights. The streetlight team worked day and night, every day, out in the sun for 7 weeks. By October 25th, 2018, staff had repaired and restored over 230 streetlights, mainly solar lights and a few electrical lights, Infield Cliffs, Goodwill Road, Goodwill Link Road, Caucase, and the Bayfront. Installation of streetlights are definitely not in the job description of these officers. However, the officers took up the task voluntarily under any other duty assigned, lit up the country in time for the season, created a much safer environment, and saved the government and citizens some hundreds of thousands of dollars. Besides having 10 electrical officers, the division's secretariat, secretary, and junior clerks also played a pivotal role by preparing all electrical installation forms for issuing to the general public and recording the same electronically. During these months, they served thousands of residents, including and impatient ones. Having recognized the tremendous effort of the staff of the division, on October 26, 2018, the Honorable John Colin McIntyre, Minister for Public Works, Water Resource Management and Ports, presented an award to the Electrical Division on behalf of the Ministry in recognition of outstanding efforts and dedication to the restoration efforts post-Hurricane Maria. Although much has been achieved, the Electrical Division continues to function with the same zeal, serving the general public and the government departments to the best of their abilities, and exploring ways to better support government entities with their electrical needs.
Congratulations and thank you. I will ask the Honorable Acting Prime Minister to please come and deliver the Excellence in the Public Service Innovation Award. So the following projects that were nominated: Dr. Laura Esprit for her health awareness campaign for public officers, the ICT unit for the government's web portal redesign, the ICT unit for the e-portal mobile application, ICT unit for weather and alert application, and the ICT unit for site reservation system for forestry division. And the winning project was the ICT unit for site reservation system for forestry division.
One of the objectives of the Information and Communication Technology Unit of the Ministry of Information, Science, Telecommunications, and Technology is to implement process analysis and process reengineering for key public sector operations that are currently ICT enabled or have the potential to become ICT enabled. The ICTU also maintains a similar focus on those operations that have the potential to add value and directly impact the delivery of public sector services. With this in mind, the Information and Communication Technology Unit created the site reservation system for the Forestry, Wildlife, and Parks Division in an effort to facilitate the management of reservations and bookings for use of sites under the control of the Forests, Wildlife, and Parks Division. The reservation system is a web-based application that will allow members of the public from all over the world to use the online site reservation system to book or reserve a site or venue for an event. The site reservation system provides the client with an easy-to-follow workflow for making a booking. The reservation workflow collects the data that the Forests, Wildlife, and Parks Division needs to create the reservation and provides the general public with guidelines for the use of the site and a contract. At the end of the booking, the system automatically notifies the Forest, Wildlife, and Parks Division of a new booking that requires approval. Once approval is completed, the client is informed via system-generated email, or the client can log into his or her account to see the status of the booking. The system affords a staff at the Forestry, Wildlife, and Parks Division the freedom to process bookings from more than one desk or location, thereby allowing the work to be shared among staff. There's a calendar that provides a visual view of all the bookings for any site or venue. It also provides an avenue for the public to see at a glance all the options they have for hosting their event from the comfort of their own homes. The system can be accessed at reservation@forestry.gov.dm. It is an honor to bestow the Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Sector Innovation on the Information and Communication Technology Unit team, namely Mr. Daniel Rivera, assisted by Mr. Charles Louis and Mr. Wayne Zamo, in observance of Public Service Day 2018.
Congratulations. I will now call on, thank you so much, Honorable Deputy. I will now call on Ms. Carr and Miss Cecilia Carr and Mrs. Charmaine Thomas to deliver certificates of appreciation.
Your Excellency Charles Savre, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Savre, Honorable Reginald Austrie, Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Cabinet colleagues, His Excellency Vince Henderson, Ambassador of Dominica to the United States of America and the OECS, Your Excellency Steve Farrell, Secretary to the Cabinet, and Mrs. Farrell, Your Excellency Dr. Damian Dublin, Ms. Joanne Commodore, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Justice, Immigration and National Security, other Permanent Secretaries, Heads of Departments, Mr. Oral Laura, Senior Prison Officer, other invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I assure you I won't be long. We can all agree that everyone in one way or the other deserves some type of award following the hard work done after the devastation of Hurricane David. However, some persons have done so, However, some persons have done so consistently, willingly, and diligently in making this day today, the Public Service Day, a success. And as a result, the Establishment, Training and Personnel Department, under the leadership of the Chief Personnel Officer, Ms. Carr, is pleased to recognize these exceptional individuals for their selfless contribution by awarding them a certificate of appreciation. The names are as follows: Belinda Charles, Miss Charles, she must be somewhere wrong. Vanessa Joseph, the sports division. Anyone to represent the sports division? Lester John Baptist. He must be downstairs. Fisheries division. Anybody to represent the fisheries division? Fire Sports Club, the Police Sports Club, and Mr. Kervid Sorrento. And also Lester Frages. Also, we are also recognizing some janitorial service providers and the security providers. So we are especially recognizing the janitorial service of General Cleaning Services and the security service C&S Service Limited. Also, for long service of janitorial work in the ministry, around the ministry and the yard, we are recognizing Mr. Martin Joseph.
Congratulations, everyone. Ms. Carr will also present donations to charitable organizations, the Northern Home for the Aged and the Lupus Foundation of Dominica. Northern Home for the Aged, and the Lupus Foundation of Dominica. Thank you, Ms. Carr. We will now have a performance by the Whitey Kubuli Dance Group.
dance. And I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. You, the silence is quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet. Move mountains, and I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. And we will rise, we will rise, we will rise. Oh, we'll rise. I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I will rise 1,000 times again. We will rise. This one is from Tasha P. To you. Peace and love. It's time to show the world what we want them to see. Hey, it's time to show the world how we want to be. Put your hands in the air, raise your racks in the air, raise them up everywhere. Put 'em up, put 'em up. Put your hands in the air, raise your flags in the air, raise them up everywhere. Oh, and we will rise again. And we will rise again. If it's flags, we wave it, wave it flags in the air. If it's flags, we wave it, wave it flags in the air. If it's jump, we jump in, jump in, jump in.
Now we would like to present the wife of His Excellency, Mr. Charles Savre, with a bouquet before their departure, please. Thank you. And Your Excellency, we would like to present you with a little something as well. Can we stand for the departure of His Excellency, the President, Mr. Charles Savre, and Mrs. Savre? Deputy Prime Minister, please be seated. Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Reginald Austri, would also like to present you for a token of our appreciation. Mr. Michael Augustine, we would also like to present you with a token. Ambassador Henderson, we would also like to present you with a token of our appreciation. We'll now call on Mrs. Esther Thomas, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development, to give the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. At such a time like this, I know everyone wishes to leave, but I crave your indulgence so I can execute this activity. Of course, the Excellency has left, so I wish to acknowledge him. He was here, and his wife, Deputy Prime Minister and Honorable Minister for Agriculture and Fisheries, Mr. Reginald Austri. We have the other members of Cabinet. We have our Excellency Steve Farrell and our Excellency Dr. Damian Dublin, who is the chairman, and we should also highlight, chairman of the Public Service Commission. And we have Miss Carr, who's the Chief Personnel Officer, and other permanent secretaries, my colleagues who are here. Miss Commodore, you did well, my colleague, and heads of department and retirees. It's just sad I have to say retirees. I should say sterling contributors of the public service. I wish to acknowledge you. Mr. Oral Laura, who did the prayer well, and other invited guests, member of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm always pleased to say thanks, because thanks is part of everyone who made a great effort to be at this awards and recognition ceremony. And I wish to single out a few special individuals, persons, committees, and agencies who in one way or the other made a significant contribution to make this ceremony what we received here today. Of course, the Excellency, the President and his wife, for always gracing us with their presence and presenting the retirees with their plaques and the Senior Management Award respectively. The Prime Minister and Minister for the Public Service, Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit, for his recognition of the work of the retirees and those who continue to exhibit exemplary work. And most importantly, the vision he shared with us. It was very, very inspiring. Of course, His Excellency Dr. Vince Henderson for delivering a timely and relevant address, reminding us of the importance of people in building, is the building block of any nation, and more specifically, the critical role of the public officers in the delivery of service to the people of Dominica. Of course, I will rate you on your professorial contribution and suggestion, which has certainly been noted. Thanks to the Secretary to the Cabinet for presenting some of the retirees' plaque. Of course, I want to single out the retirees, and as I say, I wish to call them sterling contributors of the public service. Some of them I know very well, some of them I worked with, and indeed your service, the service that you gave to the public service, certainly deserves recognition and thanks. I just want to wish you Godspeed as you continue life here on earth and here in Dominica. Our permanent secretaries, thanks for facilitating and assisting and showing that we're a team. Chairperson, you did well, keep it up. Mr. Michael Augustine, he consistently presents the Augustine family, represents the Augustine family and presents the Jerry Augustine Award at each of our awards and recognition ceremony. Convey our deep gratitude to the family for such a worthy gesture. Jerry was indeed an exemplary officer, and his memory is always with us. I remember him very, very clearly. Thanks to Miss Joseph, who sang lustily the national anthem. First time someone sang the national anthem correctly. And Mr. Laurent, who reminded us in his prayer that reward certainly deserves work, certainly deserves recognition indeed. To make this ceremony what it was today, many persons were utilized to deliver specialized services in tangible ways, and we express our sincere gratitude. Mrs. Fidel, I'm sure all of you will agree with me that this place is certainly decorative, creatively and aesthetically. And so thank you, Mrs. Fidel and your team. Beryl and her team downstairs who are busy, they're involved in ensuring when we finish here, we'll be able to partake of some delicious food. Dawn seems also avails herself to assist even though she has limited time. Thanks to the New Dimension Theater, Steve Hyacinth with the skit, and White Kubili Dance Group led by Mr. Lawrence for their dance performance. Thanks for spicing up the ceremony with the entertainment. Thanks to all who came and received their certificate. It's nice when people are recognizing you that you come and receive it. So it's good that some of you came. So thanks for coming. And I must say congratulations to all of you. Prior to the awards and recognition ceremony, which today is the culmination of Public Service 2018, we were able to deliver some special activity for enhancing camaraderie and togetherness among public officers. Many of you will recall the Public Service Day excursion to Martinique, or I'm sure you all had en bon temps, okay? Special thanks to We Church travel agent for contributing to making the excursion a reality. Special mention to the Police and Fire Sports Club, the Fisheries Division, who kept the flames of the Eat Night. That was great. And the many other handy persons, Mr. Esprit, Mr. Dejean, Mr. Batley, Mr. Ford, all of you in one way contributed, Mr. Bertrand, and of course the maintenance team who ensured after all the activities the place was clean for us to come back on Monday to a clean environment. At this juncture, I wish to acknowledge with much thanks that the tremendous effort made by the establishment and personnel training department for leading by example and making Public Service Day 2018 a success. All the activities you advertised and promoted came through. The attendance of some of these could have been better, and I appeal to public officers, when we have Public Service 2020, in 2 years' time we'll have, please patronize the activity. Those I participate in, I surely enjoyed. And I therefore single out the CPO and her team, who worked tirelessly to assist in one way or the other in making all these activities and the grand finale ceremony today a reality. Of course, the Central Planning Committee was the engine of all the hard work. And of course, they worked tirelessly and ensured the activities were well planned and executed. All of you deserve a round of applause. I will also single out the other committees who were part of Public Service 2018 activity preparation. So give yourself a round of applause. Thanks for being committed and dedicated to all the activities and getting it done with excellence and professionalism. To all the members of the committee, I again say thank you. I encourage you not to be weary in well-doing, for in due season you will reap if you faint not. Thanks everyone for being here. Continue to enjoy the rest of the goodies that you will have downstairs, and may the good Lord continue to shower his blessings upon us and our land, Dominica, and the public service. God bless you all.
We'd like to announce again that there are refreshments downstairs. Thank you all for coming.
Not coming out, right? Yeah.